My name is Lance Terry. I'm the Oklahoma State 911 Coordinator. I appreciate all the effort you put in so far attending training classes that's been provided by the state of Oklahoma. As we continue our efforts, there's one final step that we have to obtain to kind of end this race. But I don't want to talk about ending the race because there's going to be maintenance and upkeep as we move along. This training revolves around the repository. The repository information is very important to us. We spent almost $2 million so far on GIS data for Next Generation 911. And as we move forward, we have to have a place to put it, and that's where the repository comes into play. So as you learn in this session how to upload that information to the repository, I want to keep a few things in mind. Maintenance is very important. We have to continue to update this data, not just a one-time upload, but we have to update this data for the long term. So as we move forward, we're going to ask you to update quarterly. So update your information to the repository on a quarterly basis. The 911 Management Authority is looking at putting this into the rules to ensure that we have quarterly updates. 911 calls in the future Next Generation 911 environment will not be routed properly without proper GIS data that's standardized. We rely on you for that. This is a local effort. So as we move forward and as we continue to end this race, I certainly appreciate each and every one of you for the effort that you put in. But please continue that effort as we strive to the finish line and deploy Next Generation 911 for all citizens in Oklahoma.
Hey everyone, my name is Annie Cahill and I am a technical consultant with Datamark, and you guys probably all know me. We've done all of the trainings. We, meaning myself and Becca Manjan, have done all of the trainings for the Oklahoma Toolkit, as well as the Class 1 for the Oklahoma NG911 GIS standard. Don't forget to check out the state's YouTube page to access those videos and catch those trainings if you guys haven't been through those yet. So the point of today's meeting, or video I should say, is really to go through the repository. The entire point of this NG911 effort is to have a validated and cleaned data set that can be used statewide for the state's NG911. And that all starts at the local level with getting your data standardized using the Oklahoma State GIS standard that we've gone through before. That was Class 1. And then also getting those fields and getting the GIS data ready, which was part of Class 2. So with Class 2, what we did was we really went through the toolkit. And remember, the toolkit version is 6.1. And the toolkit is really about those prep tools to standardize the data, get the data in the appropriate coordinate system, get the domain set. It's about the adjustment tools, the comparison tools, the enhancement tools, all of those things that you're going to use for QC and standardization to really make your data the best it can be. And then, of course, we did spend a lot of time in the last class talking about the validation tools. So remember that you can run your validations on individual feature classes, or you can run what's called a check all required. Okay. So again, that's Class 2. We did record that class, and we're doing another in-person class the week of January 24th, and I hope that you guys can come. So today, we're only really going to be talking about the submission tools as part of the repository class, because you'll need to use those prior to uploading your GIS data to the repository. So there are 3 tools within the submission tools, and you really only need to use one of these. It really just depends on how you want to submit your data. So the first tool is Check Data in Zip. And basically what this is going to do is ask you for your NG911 geodatabase. And then you're going to provide it an output zip file. So you can call it ng911.zip. And basically what this tool does is it runs the check all. If the data passes, then it's going to zip it up. But if it doesn't pass, it's not going to zip it up. And I won't run this now because I don't want the video to be too long, but I will show you guys what the results look like. So again, it's going to check the data. If the data passes the validations, the data will be zipped. If it does not pass the validations, it will not be zipped. So when you go to run that tool, you're going to get that big dialog box and see these kind of messages going back and forth about what's going on with the data. But what we can easily do here is go to geoprocessing, results, and I can show you the results of this tool that I ran twice. So I had one data set that I knew would fail and one data set that I knew would pass. So the bottom data set with the yellow triangle is the data set that failed. So if I expand messages here, I can scroll all the way down and you see all this yellow. It's not good. It says several issues with the data need to be addressed prior to submission. The data will not be zipped. So what this is saying essentially is that it's actually kind of saving you a little bit of effort. It's saying, hey, we run this through the validations. Don't bother putting this in the repository. We're not even going to zip it up because it's got some issues. Remember from class 2, when we ran the check all, those errors were generated in the field values check results table. Okay. Remember that some tools generate notices like the range overlap, and many tools generate errors. Notices do not prevent submission, but errors do. Okay. So these things that you're seeing in this list are errors that have to be fixed. Okay. Now, if I look at the second submission that I ran, and I scroll down, see there's no yellow. It says successfully zipped geodatabase. Okay, so again, I had one data set that I knew would fail and one that I knew would pass. So that's the check data and zip tool. Okay. The second tool here is not really a submission tool. It's more of like post submission, I guess you would say, after the data has been validated and you're confident that the quality is good. You may want to run, and this isn't a requirement, but you may want to run the geodatabase to shapefiles. Okay. A lot of you, your CAD systems, your 911 systems, many other applications are still consuming GIS data as a shapefile. And so this tool makes it super easy to convert those data, the geodatabase that you've prepared. So what you would do is enter the geodatabase at the top and then provide it the output folder. And then all of those feature classes within that geodatabase are going to be converted into shapefiles. The final tool is zip ng911 geodatabase. And this is something that is just a very quick and dirty. You just need to get it zipped up and uploaded to the repository real quick. You don't care about checking all the validations on your side first. You just want to get it zipped. And that's exactly what this tool does. It takes your ng911 geodatabase, you give it the zip name, and then it goes ahead and zips up that file for you. So then that's ready to be submitted to the repository. Okay, so that's the only part of the toolkit that I really wanted to show you guys today. Again, if you go back to the class 2 recording, you'll see Becca and I go through all of these other tools within the toolkit. But the focus today was really about the repository. So I just wanted to show you guys the submission tools. Oh, also in class 2, there are some tips and tricks for cleaning up your data after you've validated it and you've gotten your field values check results with your errors. That video also shows you some ways to go through, things to look at with your data quality, etc. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the repository page here. When you get to the welcome screen, you'll notice there's a login and a sign up button. Now, in order to have access to the repository, you need to request a login. Okay, so what you'll want to do is sign up. And once the state receives the login request, they are going to verify that whoever's making the request is the appropriate person to have access for whatever PSAP they're requesting access to. And they're going to go through the 911 Management Authority to confirm that, you know, that's the appropriate user. And so then you'll receive an email that grants you access. All right, that's how that process is going to work. So you'll go through the process. They're going to verify the user through the 911 Management Authority, and then they're going to send you an email telling you, yes, you know, you have access or no. So once I get to this screen, I can go ahead and log in. And before I log in, I want to kind of go through the different roles. So the state is going to function as the system admin for the entire repository. Okay. And your contact is going to be Shelly Willoughby. She's going to be your repository contact. So at the PSAP level, you have 3 different roles. The read role is kind of the most basic. The write role, you have some functionality. You're able to upload data and you can download the original data. And the admin role can do all of these things, but you can also approve or deny account requests and assign roles to different users. All right. So I'm going to log in. I have an admin account, and I can see all of the different PSAPs in this list. So this is the screen that you'll see when you log in. Yours is going to look a little bit different because for me, I can see all of the PSAPs. So I obviously have access to all of these. It's like way too much, but I can search through using this search button, or I can also use the paging controls here to kind of go through each individual page. And then if I scroll down, I can see some very quick stats for each PSAP. So I can see here that Alfalfa County 911 last submitted or updated the repository on July 6th of 2022. Okay, so just very quick stats. So the read role, you're going to be able to see the status list, and then you can also download the files that have been merged or archived. Now, in this video, we use the merge and archive kind of interchangeably because it kind of means the same thing. But you'll see here for my PSAPs, again, I have access to all of these, but you guys may only see one, you may see multiples. It just depends on the access that you've been given. You may be an admin on one PSAP, you could be a write role for another PSAP, and then you could be a read role for a third. It really just depends on your role within your locality and how you are working with the GIS data, okay? So I'm going to go into Ardmore-Carter County, and I'm going to show you guys what this looks like. So this is the specific PSAP page for Ardmore-Carter County 911. Here I can see a list of all of my submissions. So it's giving me the upload date, the name of the file, the validation status. It's either going to be valid or invalid. So meaning it either passed the validations or it didn't. Because remember, when you upload this, it's going to automatically run that data through the toolkit. It doesn't matter if you did a check all and then zip. It doesn't matter. It's going to run it anyway. Okay. It's going to give you the date that the validations were run, and it's going to give you the merge status. It's either going to be complete or pending. The merge status is directly tied to the validation. So if the validation was valid, then it's going to have a complete as a merge status, because what that means is that it said, okay, yeah, it passed the validations. We're going to go ahead and merge this into OK Maps. So that's what the merge status means. It's going to give you the date that it was merged. The archive status is directly tied to the merge status. If it's merged, then it's also archived. And then the date of the archive. And then any actions that are available to that user role. Okay. So basically, if I'm looking at this first submission, this was the data set that I knew was going to pass. So I have a valid validation status because it passed the validations with today's date. It merged with today's date, and it also archived. Now, because I have an admin role, I have access to download the original data and the merged. So what is the difference between download original and download merged? You would think that they are the same thing, but they're not. So the merge data that goes into OK Maps is that's only including the fields that are required by the Oklahoma data model, the OK standard. Okay. It's only those fields that are listed in the standard for each feature class. So some of you may, for example, also maintain, 5 or 10 fields that you need in your address points that you use for other applications. Okay. Or maybe you, for example, maintain a property identification number associated with every single address point in your file. When that data is validated, the validations are not run on those extraneous fields. The validations are only run on the fields that are within the data model. Okay. So it's perfectly fine to have kind of like this big data model with all of your fields, but just be advised that the validations are only going to run on those required fields within the data model. Okay. But the entire thing that you upload is part of the original data, errors and all. So if you do submit data that has anomalies or errors within it, that is also part of the original data set. So I think what was going on when the state established these user roles is they thought, well, we don't want people that have a read status to just be able to download the original data, because the original data might have some errors and you don't want that getting out to other people. So we're only going to limit them to be able to download the merged data. And the merged data is only the data that A, passes the validations. So it's validated against the toolkit. And it also only has those fields that are for NG911, that are from the OK standard. All right, so that's the difference. The original data has all of the fields that have been originally uploaded, including any anomalies. And the merged data is only going to be that data that's been uploaded to OK Maps and merged in with the NG911 fields. Okay, so that's the difference there. And again, the read role can download only the merged or archived files, and the write role, you can also download the original data as well. Okay. Okay, so the clear PSAP data function allows you to clear the latest submission uploaded. So if you uploaded a file and need to have that one removed due to some type of error, then you can clear it out. And then the resubmit is very similar. You can resubmit that if you need to. If there's been some type of error, you can also use that to resubmit the data. And those are the two buttons that have changed or been added since we taught the repository last year. Now, if I go to upload a new file, this is pretty much the same. You have to upload a .zip, okay? So make sure that whatever geodatabase you're uploading has a .zip extension. And if you use those submission tools that I just showed you here in ARC Catalog, these should get it in the right format. If you just do a straight zip, or if you do a check data and zip, then you can be confident that it's going to pass the toolkit. If you do the zip NG911, it's kind of a wild card. It may pass, it may not. It's a surprise. So you're going to upload the file, and you can save the upload. Actually, I'll just go ahead and do this now. So I'm going to go ahead and upload one that I know is going to fail. And notice I have the .zip extension, and I'm going to save my upload. So it tells me my upload is successful, and you see that it immediately goes into a pending status. So what this is doing right now is it's running through the toolkit on the repository server. Okay, so this does take a few minutes. And what's going to end up happening is you can refresh this after a few minutes to get an updated status. So it's either going to be valid or invalid. And during that time, you will get an email. Okay, so Coordinate Solutions is going to send out the email about whether the data has passed or failed. Okay, so if you have some data that's passed, you're going to get an email that looks like this. It's going to say the processing of the uploaded file has finished successfully, which is amazing. That means that my data passed. And it's a very short, sweet email. However, if your data fails the validation, then you're going to get something that is a little bit more gnarly and unpleasant. So it's going to say, Dear PSAP, the validation has failed with the following results. And if you remember from class 2, this is essentially the field values check results table, guys. That's just been kind of dumped into an email. And you know, you can see this, right? Like you can scroll through and kind of see what's going on. But my preference for you all as data managers is to really actually run through the toolkit on your PC so that you can actually get the field values check results table, because that way you'll at least have the NGUID that you can join. Now, some things, it's very fast. Okay, I know that I failed to populate the RCL side and the RCL match. Those cannot be null because those are required fields. Both of those are, if you remember from class 2. So I know, okay, I need to go back. But if you have other errors that are, you know, I don't know, more specific to individual records, you'll want to be able to use the NGUID to join back to your data and make it a little bit more valuable there. So I don't particularly find this helpful, other than to say, here's all the reasons why your data failed. So really run that through on your PC so that you can actually get access to the field values check results table, in other words. Some time can go by if you have other things to do. You can refresh this to get the status. It will change from pending either to valid or invalid. Okay. Now, remember that I told you if the data is valid and it is merged, then it actually gets merged in with OK Maps, which is really the whole reason why we're doing this. So this is the OK Maps site, and I'm sure a lot of you have already visited this site. And you see here on the left, you have all these different categories that you can explore, but 911 is not here. Okay. So if I log in, my list changes a little bit. I have all of those categories that I saw before, but now I have some 911 categories as well. So if I expand NG911 and I click address points, I can download data. I can also add my data to the map. So it shows all of the address points for those PSAPs that have uploaded their addresses to the OK Maps, or for the data that's passed. Alternatively, I can also remove it from the map. I can also download. Okay. So that's the repository and OK Maps. The goal of Oklahoma is to have one statewide data set that has passed validations and has a standardized schema. When I say schema, I also mean, the attributes, basically, that all the attributes are standardized and that they've all been run through the validations. The geometry has been run through the validations, the topology, all of that stuff is clean. Remember that only the data that's part of the NG911 OK standards data model is actually uploaded into OK Maps. So you don't have to worry about, your parcel IDs being uploaded or any sensitive information. And we mentioned this in the last repository class, but please, folks, do not upload any personally identifiable information, PII, into this data set. Okay, you don't want to do that. The model is pretty tight. It doesn't allow for a lot of extra data to be stored in there, but there is that comments field that some people can use to kind of flesh out what's there already, and there are valid uses for that field. However, we don't want you guys storing sensitive information in that field either. We have had it in the past where, clients have sent us information that has very deeply personal, like health information and phone numbers and things like that. That is not data that you want uploaded into the statewide repository. So be mindful of that. Again, that goes back to data management. This is all that I have to show you for the repository. Remember your submission tools, especially if you're not confident in knowing how to zip up a geodatabase. This tool can help you. Once you get that zip file ready, you're going to go over to the repository and you're going to upload it here, and you're going to wait to see what the status is, and hopefully your data passes and will be merged into OK Maps. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Shelly Willoughby or myself. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all